There's actually a dark side to motivation, and it might be making you unhappy. Here's the details. Imagine this. You're standing there on a podium, you're getting a gold medal around your neck. The crowd is going ballistic, and there's flashes and cameras everywhere, and everybody wants to know everything about you, and you are the man or woman right now. This is supposed to be your happiest moment. Everything you've been working for came down to this. And now you're there. And then what? At this point, there is a sort of feeling of emptiness that can come over you, and you're not alone. This is a really common thing. And even Michael Phelps, one of the most decorated Olympians, he even experienced it. So after the 2004 Olympics, after he just won 6 gold medals and 2 bronze medals, which is insane, Michael Phelps fell into what they call a post Olympic depression. And he described standing at the top of the mountain and suddenly wondering, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Where am I supposed to go? Who am I? And imagine reaching your ultimate goal, achieving something that is almost impossible, and feeling completely lost and feeling like you've lost your entire identity. So that begs the question, how can achieving everything you ever wanted to achieve leave you feeling so adrift and basically unhappy? Today we're going to find out. And there is a very dark side of motivation that we're going to talk about. And we're also going to talk about how we can fix that. So, how we can change our mind when it comes to goals and try to make a more healthy choice in setting our goals. Psychologists actually have a name for that kind of big emotional crash you get after achieving something big. And that's called post achievement depression. So, pretty good name. And it kind of entails a sense of purposelessness and sadness after achieving your goal. So basically, all the fun is in the chase. You get all the meaning and purpose from the chase, and you really enjoy yourself, and you feel like you're kind of working towards something. And then once you're there, it all just vanishes. So you've got basically nothing left, especially when you've been into it like really, really, really badly. And it doesn't just happen to Olympians. It happens to people from all walks of life. So basically, no one is spared. I mean, you can get that big job promotion, you can get your degree, you can, I don't know, play music on a big stage or do anything else that's really important to you. And once you're there, it might just leave you questioning everything. Like, what did you do? Why did you do it? What are you going to do now? So, why does this happen? Why do you feel sad after achieving something big or getting something big? One of the reasons is hedonic adaptation. It's also known as the hedonic treadmill. And the treadmill kind of concept already shows you where we're going with this. So, the brain has this tendency to return to a happiness set point. And the set point is now whatever situation you're in. So it kind of creates this new reality where the brain just wants more. It's like, okay, so maybe you've won the lottery. There's a very famous 1978 study about people who won the lottery. And of course they were happy. They won millions. But at some point it just wears off. It just, I mean, not, it's not like you wake up the next day and feel like, oh, yeah, fine, sure. No, it kind of tapers off, but that doesn't change the point. Because maybe after a week or 2 weeks, you're like, yeah, sure, I've got a lot of money now, but you're not necessarily happier. And that's just because your brain just raises the bar. And in the case of the lottery winners, it's actually quite concerning because at some point they just didn't seem to enjoy everyday things as much anymore. There's also something called the arrival fallacy, and that's a coin turned by Tal Ben Sahar, a pretty famous positive psychology expert. And Basically, the premise of that is the false belief that when I finally arrive, I will be happy. So that the destination kind of ensures lasting happiness. And I think we all know that that's not true. I mean, it's something that you sort of believe that isn't really true. Examples are I'm going to be happy when I buy a new car. I'm going to be happy when I bought a new house. I'm going to be happy when I don't know, you name it. And basically, as the saying goes, happiness is a journey, not a destination. And science agrees on that. So the big takeaway is the chase is the thing that gives you the high, not the achievement. So I have this book here, and I'm pretty sure I read some of this stuff in this book. It's a really good book. I think the neuroscience is really clear on this. While you're chasing the objective, that's when you get the dopamine release. So that's when your brain is actually rewarding you for putting in the work. And then at some point, when you achieve your goal, or maybe in our ancestors' case, uh, they were chasing a prey, and once they got it, that's when the dopamine just kind of tapers off, and because you're basically done. You're basically done. I think from an evolutionary perspective, it makes sense to reward the chase and not necessarily the catch. So that's exactly what happens. Whether that is correct or not, at least the neuroscience on the dopamine part is crystal clear. So it's a bit like how a cat enjoys the hunt more than the actual catch. It will play with its stuff. The joy was in the journey, and when the journey ends, we kind of miss it. So that's why goal setting, the way we're taught to do it, is basically a trap. You can say I'm gonna do SMART goals. I want everything to be measurable. There's an end goal I need to reach, and I want to define it really, really clearly. And sure, that has its place in business and other stuff where you really want to measure. But for you personally, making SMART goals is probably a really bad idea. Unless you say, I'm not going to focus on the end goal, I'm going to focus on the process. So instead of saying, I'm going to read a book this week, or I'm going to read a book every week, how about just say, I'm going to read a book for half an hour every day, or maybe an hour every day? And it doesn't really matter how many books you read, it just matters that you're doing the process. And doing the process is actually a lot easier, and it also accumulates and works toward your end goal, if we can even call it that now. But it's a different way of thinking about goals that actually makes a lot more sense from a psychological and neuroscience perspective. So research studies back this up. If you focus on extrinsic goals, for example, money or status, your overall well-being tends to be a bit lower. Whereas if you focus on intrinsic goals like personal growth, relationships, health, family, stuff like that, your overall well-being tends to be a bit higher. So success as defined by society today, a big house, shiny car, all the good stuff, a lot of money, big salary, good job, good image, whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happier. One big part of the problem is actually our culture. It kind of pushes us into this destination addiction. And it starts really young in school, where you have to do exams. Obviously, you have to do exams, but it doesn't really help with enjoying the process now, does it? And it doesn't really get any better from there, because then you get a job and maybe you get some targets, or you have to do things in a certain way by a certain time. So there's always this deadline, there's always a goal. And again, there's not really much room to enjoy the process, which is sad but understandable. So this is really something you can use for your own goals, for your personal goals. So let's talk solutions. How do we break out of this unhappy, goal chasing trap of doom? Well, the answer is focus on the process. Again, focus on the process. And if it's hard to focus on the process, just focus on all the individual steps along the path that can can easily be small wins for you. So every time you win something, it's okay to celebrate and to feel good about that. It's a bit like the difference between saying I want to lose 20 pounds by the beginning of summer or saying I want to do 30 minutes of exercise every day. It's not about losing the 20 pounds. It's about doing the exercise. And doing the exercise probably makes you lose 20 pounds anyway. So focus on the process. Another way to think about it is values and growth. I mean, you can just ask yourself, why did I want to reach that goal in the first place? Why is it important to you? And those values can really guide you along the way. So you have to focus on the values themselves, not on the end goal that you just probably arbitrarily made up. I mean, it's not like we're doing something radical here. It's just something you've made up before that you're going to change out with something you're making up now. The only thing is you're changing the focus of it. So a good starting point for that is Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why, which is a really interesting question. Why? Why do you do what you do? Why do you think it's important? And then after that, you can go to how and what and all the other stuff. But the most important part is why. Psychological research suggests that aligning goals with your intrinsic values leads to longer and more sustainable well-being. So it probably comes as no surprise that a study actually found that setting goals that reflect your personal values give you more of a sense of fulfillment and meaning and purpose. I mean, it's good. It's a good thing they did research and confirmed it, but we kind of we kind of felt that already. It's not the destination; it's the journey, and it's not a cliche. Well, it is a cliche, but it's also a recipe for a happier life. So we took a little journey through the dark side of motivation and came out with some light, actually. And basically, the way to avoid this whole post achievement depression is just by enjoying the ride, focusing on the ride, focusing on the journey. That's the most important thing that you can take away from this video. And if there's a second most important thing you can take away from this video is how you do that. Basically, you just go from a big audacious goal and you put it into tiny little daily goals, daily actions that are process oriented instead of big audacious goal oriented. And that way you can just be a little bit happier, focus on the here and now, enjoy the journey. And when you do get that achievement, you can celebrate and you can be happy about that. But when you go back, you still have something to go back to. If you found this video insightful and maybe it helped you a little bit, please consider just pressing the like button and subscribing for more psychology content. Of course, I'm pretty new to the game, so I'm still kind of getting used to speaking to the camera and stuff like that. I hopefully will get better. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe. Cheers.